How do you get to your first 10,000 followers on Twitter? This is something that I thought about recently because I noticed on my friend's Instagram handle, and that's my friend Daisy, the one who's in misuse that I referred to a couple of podcast episodes ago. She's not only a masseuse, but she's into balloon props and decor and party supplies, basically. So I saw this post about her celebrating her 10,000 followers on Twitter and some giveaway or something like that that she was doing to celebrate that. So I reached out to her and I wanted to have a chat to find out how you do that. I mean, how do you get to 10,000 followers on Twitter? Because I was hoping that there might be some useful nuggets I'll be able to learn from the interaction, especially since she says that she not only has 10,000 followers on Twitter, but that she also gets some referral business from that. And so, yeah, so that's the reason why I wanted to have the conversation with her. Um, for those of you who are long term listeners of the podcast, you know that I believe in a multidisciplinary approach. And so I think that there are business lessons that a wedding photographer or a sales consultant like me, or a wedding planner, if you happen to be a wedding planner or whatever it is that you do, I believe that there are business lessons that we can learn from someone else, even if the person is a masseuse and is into balloon and party props, supplies, and stuff like that. So we had the meeting. It wasn't really a meeting because she actually was on a gig and I decided to tag along anyway. And we had the conversation. And she had lots of useful tips about how to grow your Twitter following by actively engaging on the stream, by replying to comments, by atting other users. Because when you at other people, that's when they make contributions on your posts. And then the reshares and the retweets and stuff like that that follow. So, pretty much stuff that we are already aware of, I think. I'm assuming that most of us are already aware of that. But then it turns out that the real kernel that led to her growth to 10,000 followers was this thing that goes on Twitter. So it turns out, apparently, that there are some business communities on Twitter, and you can find them by the various Instagram handles. Sorry, not Instagram handles. Twitter hashtags that they use. So these are essentially follow business communities. So if you use hashtag Abuja Twitter community, she also says that there's a Lagos variant, and she also mentioned some places in the east that also. Sorry, excuse me. So also mentioned some places in the east that also have these Twitter communities. So basically, if you search these hashtags or whenever you put up posts on Twitter, you use these hashtags, and basically people in the community will check you out, and if they think you're cool enough, then they're going to follow back, and from time to time they have routine challenges. Okay, not challenges. I can't remember what she called it, but let me just say blitzes. So they have routine blitzes where stuff is going on and people have to follow, and yeah, things of that nature. So basically, that's the key thing that brought up her Twitter, her followers on Twitter to over 10,000. So yeah, that's it. So it's local business interest basically following you. If you use the hashtag, it's going to be reciprocal follows, and then also people get to refer as well, because sometimes people make inquiries on these social media sites, like on Twitter, for instance. Somebody reaching out saying that hey, I need help. I need a bricklayer because I'm building a house in Abuja or something like that, and then people within the network, if they don't provide the service, they can tweet that out as well and then put the hashtag Abuja Twitter community. And then from there, people now get to make referrals. So that's pretty much how it works. So it was an interesting conversation. It was quite fascinating, especially since I've been pitched this kind of idea before by my friend Manny with Sculptors Events. Although that conversation was Instagram related a long time ago, sometime last year, and I can't remember the lady who was in charge of running the thing. She used to be really big at the time. I don't hear her. I don't hear much about her anymore. And it was pretty much the same sort of thing So challenges, blitzes, follow for follow, and those sorts of things. So anyway, the reason why I'm letting you guys know about this is not because this is something that I endorse per se. In fact, I find some of it kind of sketchy because I've been very vocal for whenever people promote these kind of ideas to me. Because, in my own opinion, I don't think we business people should be in the business of acquiring more followers who are business people per se, because we should be in the business of trying to grow our customer base. And so it doesn't help me if I go out into these sorts of things, try to drum up activity, and then I end up with 50,000 followers who are also business people like me who are trying to look for potential customers for their product or their service. So I think we should be trying to grow our customer base, our client base, and not necessarily grow our social networks with co-vendors or co-business people, basically people in the same space as we are, because I think if we do that, we will meet the vanity metrics. Sorry about that. So we'll meet the vanity metrics because yes, we can all go around thumping our chest saying I have 50,000 followers, I have 100,000 followers, maybe get some verification out of it, but it might not help to increase the business aim. So maybe I'm not being very articulate about it, but that's kind of like my primary concern when it comes to these sorts of things. But bottom line is, we're all adults. We can all make up our minds, and so whenever I come across tidbits, whether I agree or disagree, I figured might as well share with you guys over here, my community. You guys make up your mind. I'll try and be objective about the whole thing, say the pros and cons, and then leave it up to you guys to decide, just in case you're also curious about doing that sort of thing. Getting 10,000 followers plus on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. But I think the primary questions that we should be asking ourselves when we are worried about these sorts of things is we need to ask if growing our following is going to guarantee a growth in the business. So that has to be the primary concern for us, I think. That if you grow your following on Instagram, or if you grow your following on Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is that you are trying to increase your following on, is that going to guarantee you a growth in business? Now, for some people, there is a direct correlation. So, for people who sell information products, like let's say life coaches, for instance, they can attribute, there's a direct attribution between the number of people that they have in their Facebook groups and all these other stuff, and it ties directly to the business that they're able to generate. And that's for people in the information product business. So, I guess for them, these sorts of things, not a problem if you're into information products. So I guess they can go through all the hassle and try to hustle up 10,000 followers. So ask yourself if growing your following is going to guarantee you good business. And then I also think another question that we should be asking ourselves is if instead of being preoccupied with the metric, which is the number of followers, why don't we focus on ways of being more valuable to our communities? And if we do that over time, we should be able to get organic growth with the audience set or the client set that we are looking out for. So, in other words, like with what I'm doing right now on Twitter, putting out this business content, every day. It's not, salacious content, and it's not popular content. It's not the kind of thing that is going to make me amass followers. But I'm taking a hunch that if I just keep on doing what it is that I do, because like my friend Daisy, when she looked at my handle, she was impressed and she said, "Wow, you only post serious stuff." So yeah, I know that my timeline and the kind of things that I talk about, business, sales, marketing, I know it can come across as what's the word? Serious, dry, lacking in flavor. But I'm trusting that over time, by being valuable to the community, I'm going to get organic growth on my handles, and most importantly, it would be the kind of growth that is relevant to my future personal goals and my future business goals as well. So I think those should be two main questions we should be asking ourselves. Does meeting this vanity metric, does that guarantee more business? And then what about focusing on value to the community and allowing for organic growth? Now, a sidebar. this whole approach has been useful for Daisy, obviously, because she might not realize it, but she's in the B2B context. That's a business to business context. For the masseuse business, yes, she's relating with retail clients, but for the balloons, party props, and supplies and things like that, she essentially has to supply other businesses who need these things. So for the balloon services, she's supplying other caterers, event planners, wedding planners, decor people. She's in a business where primarily her own intended audience, or the people that end up doing business with her, are other businesses. So in her own context, this sort of thing actually makes a lot of sense, because a lot of the business people who are going to be signing up to follow are going to be people who might need her own services in the future. So if you remove the masseuse thing from the mix, even people like real estate firms, eventually at some point they want to engage in expos or pop-up events and things like that. And of course, folks like that, they definitely need supplies, decor items, balloons, things like that. So people like Daisy can meet that need. So if you're in that context where you're in a B2B scenario, business to business context, then I guess these sorts of things make sense to you. So the final question for the rest of us is now to consider that, given your own context, is this going to be useful to you? If you're a wedding photographer, is this sort of thing, this whole reciprocal follows and all that, is it going to be useful to you as a wedding photographer? Would it be useful to you as a wedding planner? Is it going to be useful to you if you are in construction? So just think about whether it's going to be useful to you in your context. And so I think these are some of the things that we should be mulling around in our heads when we're thinking of those big questions about how to get to 10,000 followers on Twitter, on Instagram, or in our Facebook groups. So that's it for today's recording. Thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based sales consultant and event media professional Tavishima Ayede. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.